Hello world, welcome back to another HackerRank Python challenge video. In this video, we're going to be solving list comprehensions. Let's get started. Let's learn about list comprehensions. You are given three integers, x, y, and z, representing the dimensions of a cuboid, along with an integer n. Print a list of all possible coordinates given by I, j, k as a tuple, on a 3D grid where the sum of I plus j plus k is not equal to n. Here, 0 is less than or equal to I, less than or equal to x, 0 is less than or equal to j, less than or equal to y, and 0 less than or equal to k, less than or equal to z. Please use list comprehensions rather than multiple loops as a learning exercise. So what list comprehensions basically do is allows you to consolidate a bunch of for loops that are basically creating a list for you, right? And what it does is, instead of having multiple lines of code to represent or to populate your list essentially, right? You can do it all in one line. And this is typically done with for loops, as I was saying. So what I'm going to show you is the expanded form first, and then I'm going to show you how to consolidate it into a list comprehension. That way it'll make sense how the list comprehension works. Because when you look at a list comprehension first time, it's going to be oftentimes very difficult to understand what's going on, right? But hopefully we can mitigate that by showing you how to write it, do the list comprehension quote unquote, right? Because it's not actually list comprehension if we write it expanded, but we can show you how to expand it essentially, right? So let's go ahead and get started. All permutations ijk are print the list in lexicographic increasing order. Okay, so what that means is that it's going to be in alphabetical order, right? So all our zeros will come first, or variations of zeros will come first, then anything with ones will come next, so on and so forth, right? And so let's go ahead and get started. And as we can see here from the lexicographic, right, it's going through 0, 0, 0, then 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 2, right, when n is 3. 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1. See, it's just going in order, right? It's taking care of all the third values and then the combination of the second and the third values, and then it keeps on going up. And one more thing I wanted to mention is, the only constraint is we have to print it in lexicographic order. And the way we set it up, it'll automatically be in lexicographic order. And notice how n is 3, so 0, 1, 2, and 0, 1, and 1, 1, 1 are not printed out because those would be I plus j plus k equals 3, and we can't have, according to our challenge, or according to our task, right, we can't have I plus j plus k be equal to n. Okay, so we can kind of already tell how this is going to get set up, right? Usually when we have these range values, right, in our task, it usually means we got to start with some for loops, right? And remember, we're writing the expanded form of the list comprehension first. So we're going to say for I in range of 0. Oh, we don't need the 0, so we just need x plus 1, right? Because it's less than or equal to x, right? In this case, in the previous challenge, it was less than n, right? Whatever the input was. So we need to add 1 to it so that we can actually get x. But we don't need the 0 because it's implied that the first value is 0 if we don't have it there. Then we just do a nested for loop, right? We do another for loop within our outer for loop, right? So, and this will make sense in a second here. So for j in range of, and it's basically going to be the same thing, y plus 1. And then finally, we're going to want 1 for k, right? For k in range of z plus 1. Now, the way this works, right, is we start with our outer, right? Okay, and then notice we'll go, We start with our outer, and then we go to the next one, right? Because that's the next line is our next for loop, and then we go to the next one. And then in here, in our innermost for loop, our innermost for loop will execute until it reaches the end of its range, or there's a conditional that breaks it out of the loop, right? Then we'll go back up to J, and then we'll keep doing, and then we'll go to the next J, and then it'll come back to the K, right? And then we'll go through all the Ks again, and then back to the J until we get through all the Js and Ks, and then we go to the I, right? And then the I increments, and then the J goes again, and the K repeats until all the combinations are met. And that's kind of how you can see what's going on in these permutations, right? We start off with I, J, and K being 0, right? So I will be 0, J will be 0, then K will be 0, then K will be 1, then K will be 2. And this is assuming N is 3, right? So once K reaches 2, it's going to go to J is going to become 1, right? So then it's going to be I is still 0 in this case, right? Because we haven't incremented I yet. So 0, 1, 0. Okay, and then 0, 1, 1, because K is incrementing once again, right? And then 0, 1, 2, but in their example, since N is 3, it's going to skip doing 0, 1, 2 because, well, not skip it, it's just not going to print it out, right? Because I plus J plus K cannot be equal to N. So it cannot be equal to 3 as per the example. But anyways, now that we kind of explained how that works, we can go ahead and do our final conditional, right? Because we just want to check and see if I plus J plus K is not equal to N, right? Then we want to print, we want to, let's go ahead and define a list for ourselves, an empty one. Do L equals empty, all right? L dot append, and remember, list can pretty much take in any data type, right? And we're taking in lists inside of our overarching list, right? So the easiest way we can do this is just simply by literally appending the type of list we want, right? We just append a sublist of I, J, and K. Pretty easy, right? And then, and then at the very end, right, we're going to print L, which is our list. All right, so let's go ahead and run it and see what we get. And as you can see, it looks like our N value was 2, so same as our sample input 0, right? And we get the lexicographical order, all right? And notice how it skips 0, 1, 1, right? Because 1 plus 1 is 2. Easy enough. It also skips 1, 1, 0, because that's also equal to 2, which is our N in the sample. We look at sample test case 1, right? A little bit different this time. We have our values incremented up to 2. N is still 2 though, so anything that adds up to 2 is still not going to be present here. But larger list, right? Because we're dealing with more values that X, Y, and Z can possibly be. Or I, J, K can possibly be within the range of X, Y, and Z and 0. Or 0 to X, Y, and Z. So now that we have, kind of an idea of how the expanded form looks, right? Let's go ahead and comment this out. We could just assign the list comprehension to a list, but honestly, we can literally just print out our list comprehension. Like, remember, we can evaluate any kind of expression inside the print statement. So we can evaluate the list comprehension and print it out inside the print function, right? So what we're going to want to do is we're going to start with opening brackets, right? And then our first value in our brackets is actually going to be what we're trying to append to the list, right? Which is going to be our IJK sublist, all right? And then everything else is just very straightforward from here, right? All we have to do now is literally condense our for loops and if condition into one line. So it's literally going to be I in range of X plus 1 for J in range of Y plus 1 and for K in range of Z plus 1. And then we're going to finish it off with our I plus J plus K not equal to N. All right. And that should give us the same result we had before. The only difference here between what we did here and here is that we have one line instead of multiple lines, and our beginning value is actually determining what's going to be appended to our list, right? That's going to be the values that we want appended, depending on what conditions follow in our for loops and whatever other conditions we throw in along the way. So let's go ahead and run the code again. And there you have it, same results. We can go ahead and submit. And all our test cases passed. Congratulations. I hope that wasn't too tricky to follow along with. I hope you learned what list comprehensions are. They're pretty useful if you want to consolidate your code, make it run a little bit faster, take up less space. And if you enjoyed the video, give us a like. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel while you're at it as well. And check out these other videos that should pop up on the screen at any point towards the end of this video. And don't forget to check out our Discord and Patreon, links in the description box down below. Comment on the video your thoughts. Give us any feedback. This is Almond Milk, signing out.